Hey guys, back with another video, and today we are here with our Christian Readathon announcement. August 1st is tomorrow, and Christian Readathon begins August 1. So I know I'm late, but it is still before August, so we're gonna do this similar, actually, the way I posted for last year. So, but I have another option. So here's the new rules. Okay, new rules, not new, but new. We're gonna merge the prompts from the first 2 years, because I did actually look back this time, because I noticed in my last 2 videos that I couldn't remember when I started it. So I was like 3 or 4 years, maybe 4 years. No, really 4. And it looked terrible. So this time I actually did the research, and 5 years ago I started this readathon because I couldn't find one that I wanted to follow along with on YouTube at the time. So I decided to do a Christian readathon. So prompts, when I first started, we had 6 prompts. Okay, so I'm going to give you all 6 prompts, and you can choose to do a book for each prompt, or you can choose 3 prompts and do just 3 prompts, or if you are an even slower reader, you can do 1 prompt. In any way that you feel that you can join in on the readathon, you do what you know that your schedule and your brain will allow. Because that's the other part of some of these readathons that make you kind of drop out, because there's 5, 6, sometimes 7 prompts. But even for some people, with how busy their schedule is and how many kids they have, or not even kids, just a busy schedule, reading 1 book is actually good for them, or 2, having a little bit at the end of the day, if they even, have the end of the day to themselves after they get off work. So we're going to do the prompts. You get to choose a prompt, or you get to do much like what I'm going to do, is pick up a book and read it. If it is a Christian novel, pick it up and read it. And if it fits one of the prompts, then that is good too. But just the fact that you are picking up a book, a biblical text, a biblical fiction or nonfiction, with memoirs and testimonies, whatever you feel is something that you are reading this month with your church, something that you can read and get done this month, with your small group, whether it's a small group at church or just a small group of girls that you're reaching out to, or a group of guys that you're reaching out to, if you are a guy and you're watching this, just so that there's options, but no one is left out of not being able to participate. So with that being said, here are your 6 prompts. Prompt number 1, read a testimonial or a memoir. Same. To me, same, but testimonial, you're still alive and you're talking about your story, your life, you're giving your testimony. Memoir, most of the time, that person has passed. So either or. Prompt number 2, read Kingdom Focused Unity. So read a text that talks about unity within God's kingdom. How God wants us to be unified, whether that is a text on uniting in race. We just had a sermon by our pastor, I think it was last week or the week before last, or the week before that, but I know it was part of the series that we're doing this month, where he hit on a couple times how Christian churches are sometimes the most segregated churches out there. There are the Black Christian churches, and then there are the everybody else's Christian churches, but there needs to be more diversity and unity in that. So while we aren't always aware, because most of our churches do cater to the group of people in the neighborhood, which sometimes is predominantly Black, sometimes is predominantly white, and that's okay too. That's just the neighborhood. But reach out to other people, bring them in. You know what I mean? Like, just because they don't live in the neighborhood doesn't mean that they can't come to your church. So reading something that unites us, whether it's on race or unites us, whether it's like adults and teens or adults and younger kids, because sometimes those relationships or unity is not always there. Sometimes it's just like up here and everything is about the adults, but then there's nothing for the kids. There's no ministry for them to be a part of, or if there is, sometimes it's just like, you know, just that and nothing else. As far as like, you know, spending time with, you know, other parents spending time with each other and bringing their kids along and, you know, stuff like that. But unity comes in different ways. And that second prompt does overlap with our next prompt, which is prompt number 3, and it is about relationships. So read a book on godly relationships. Relationships can be in the form of son, mother, father, daughter, you know, parents and their kids, or it could be adults and their parents, you know, like me and my, you know, parents, because, you know, they're older, so kids and their grandparents too. It could also be people outside of your house, you know, friendships. If you are single and you're dating, how to do that properly, you know, with boundaries. Boundaries is a good book. All of their books are good books. But there's, you know, all of those are considered relationships. So, you know, book on relationships. Number 4, a biblical based fiction. So, I actually have a book that does hit this prompt, but it could be a Christian horror, a Christian romance, a Christian fantasy, just where the heart of the book is actually biblical based. And if you don't know, I would say do some research to see if the book is, because some people, if you've never read the Bible from cover to cover, there may be some stories that you have never read, had never heard of. And I know most of us as adults have heard of like the ones that we were told when we were kids, which is like Jonah and the whale, Adam and Eve, the flood, you know, those sort of stories. And those aren't bad, but, you know, there's other stories too. And there's a lot of texts out there that are based around those stories. Prompt number 5, read it together. So have a book that you can read with more than one person. So, like a small group can be up to 3 or 4 people, you know, like in your book club, or if you have a small group at church and you're wanting to, you know, join them in on reading a book together. It could be a Devo, it could be a fantasy book, it could be a memoir, you know, or a testimonial, but, you know, just a book that you can read with somebody else. And finally, prompt number 6 is random read. So it's your choice. Whatever book, it doesn't have to fit any one of the prompts, but whatever your choosing is, you may just pick up a book and read it, as long as it is a Christian novel or a Christian based novel. So with that, you can do any one of those prompts, any 2 or 3 or all of the prompts, entirely up to you. Or you can do what I'm doing. Hey, hi, I'm me. I am just reading because I have a feeling that this year is going to be just as busy as it was last year, but in a different way for me as far as the month of August, because school is starting back. But with that, I am a science department chair in my school building, and as far as I know, I still only have 2 people on my science in my science team, and we're supposed to have 3 at minimum or 4 at most. And so I'm having to do a little bit of extra work to get our new people or person, whoever I meet starting on August 6th, But I have to help them, a little bit more than probably the other teachers because they're not the department chair. So yes, she'll have help with her team, but her team is another like social studies, math, or ELA person. She won't have another science person on her team, so then that's my job to help her in the science department as to what to teach with her students and how, to get that going. So because of that, and because it's about to hit the ground running, I am not specifically choosing a prompt. I am just reading, and if my book falls in a prompt, then it does. So the books that I have chosen, I do also have audiobooks or an ebook copy for them to make it easier for me to be able to read if I can get a break to myself while I'm at work. But also on the car ride, I also want to be listening to a book as well if I'm not listening to the radio, which I probably won't be listening to the radio, especially when school first starts, because chances are when I'm setting up my classroom, or at least the parts of my classroom that I packed, I didn't pack up everything. But while I'm doing all that stuff, I'm probably going to have YouTube playing in the background with my Christian playlist, because that's my go-to. Okay, so anywho, I say all that to tell you what I am reading. So now that we've got the announcement and the prompts, or the no prompts, now I can tell you what my August TBR is. So first up, we have The Awe of God, which is also a book on my book club's monthly book pick. For me, this would be actually an early read for my book club because I don't believe I have this book until December, actually. But something about the way people have been talking about this book lately is just making me want to read it early. And that's fine for me because I have 2 children whose birthdays are in December. And then there's also the holidays. So if I read it early, then I don't feel like that's cheating because I still read it. So this book it says, do you long for a more intimate relationship with your creator? Does he seem distant, even elusive? John Bevere, I think his name is. Sorry if I mispronounced it. Assures us that God is near, but perhaps something utterly essential is missing from your walk with him. The fear of the Lord. So in this book, Bevere invites us to take a fresh look at what it means to work on our salvation with fear and trembling. This largely forgotten virtue is the uncommon path to a fulfilled and fruitful life. You will discover how holy fear is vital to a close relationship with God, frees us from all other fears and anxiety, purifies our inward motives and intentions, leads us into true wisdom and understanding and knowledge. So it says, holy awe unlocks life as God intended. Only in developing and clinging to this virtue do we find the peace, safety, and joy that many find unattainable. Rather than cowering before our Creator, embracing the fear of God will raise us to a higher level of living that forever changes us. So this can cross over with the prompt 3 in relationships. But also I just want to read it, so I just picked it up. The one that is for the month of August on my Book Fun Book Club page on Facebook is The Bait of Satan. This is also by John Bevere. But the title, or the book cover looks like that. I'm having to use my Goodreads, but it's a little bit different on the Kindle, the way it pulls up the cover. But anywho, so I don't have a description though, because I don't know how to pull up my description. Okay, here it is. Ha 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 ha. All right, it says, escape the enemy's deathly trap. The bait of Satan exposes one of the most deceptive snares Satan uses to get believers out of the will of God offense. Most people who are ensnared by the bait of Satan don't even realize it. Don't be fooled. You will encounter offense, and it's up to you how it will affect your relationship with God. Your response will determine your future. If offense is handled correctly, you will become stronger rather than bitter. In this 10th and okay, so this is a 10th anniversary edition, so we don't have to go through that. It says this book includes testimonials of transformed people who have read the original book as part of extra reading for this anniversary edition that I'm going to be reading. I pointed over there, but that's not even the copy. I'm actually going to be reading this on Hoopla. A lot of Christian reads are on Hoopla, and I thank Hoopla for that. Thank you. And it says, and there's a devotional supplement, there's featured discussion questions, there's scriptures, and there's prayers. So this will cross over with prompt number 1 for testimonials. So that's cool. I actually didn't know that. I just put it on there because somebody told me it was good to read. So I was like, okay, well, why not try it? And another book that I have is the book number 2 in the Christian post-apocalyptic series called The Barren Fields. I don't know if you can see that. That is the cover. It is by Felicity Elaine, and I read the first one, which was Cross Academy. Really good. I did not see as much as I wanted to of God's presence in the book, so I am hoping that this book, the second one, will have more of that. But, you know. So The Barren Fields takes place after the first book, where they go back to, if I'm not mistaken, they go back to their hometown. I had already exited out of it. I didn't want to go back in it. And then I am also reading another book by Felicity Elaine, but it is not a part of the series from what I understand. It's just separate on its own, and it is called I Am Man. And that is what that cover looks like. I have no idea what that one is about, and I want to go into that one blind, so I just exited out of that so I don't have to read the description. But so far, those are my picks. Oh, one more. I am doing a book, which I will have to actually take a screenshot of it and put it at the end of this video. I am doing a devotional with my small group of girls, but I don't know if it ends in August. I have to go back to see how long the devotional actually is. But when we get new Christians or baby Christians into our church, we have this book called Baby Believers, which is a devotional that we'll be doing, but it's a daily devotional instead of a weekly devotional. So we will check in with each other either daily or weekly, but you read a page out of the devotional every day. But it is for us to kind of help guide our new Christians through like what it's like within our church, but also what it is like within God's community. And while we know that our church is not the only church for people to go to, we do want them to know how our ministries work. So we have youth ministry, which is junior high and high school. Then we have our children's ministry, and then we have our cleaning ministry, and then we have our coffee ministry, our greeters, our media. We have so many different things that play a part. We just want them to know, how all of that works, and, where they can lend a hand if they choose one of the ministries, but also how we work with other churches in the sense of like mission trips and, going to help within our own city, like the tornado that just happened recently. And we have some more members went out yesterday to Ellsbury to help with their flash flood. So like there are different ways, different things that you can, help within the church, but also just teaching them how to be acclimated with the Bible, you know, reading the Bible daily, doing smaller, you know, this also gives them a feel of how to do smaller devos. They don't necessarily have to always choose devos as long as the one that we're about to do, but it also helps them understand like what the book of Malachi says about tithing, because, you know, a lot of churches abuse that, but we want to teach from the Bible and what we think that God is telling us. And if there's any questions about that, they are free to ask and to, you know, do their own research and, you know, not just hone in on what we say, but make sure they go back to the Bible and see what the Bible says about it. But those are my reads for the month, and I'm excited to get started. Okay. All right. That is all I have for you today. And until next time, bye.